The tendon in this test has typical inlet and outlet locations. Inlets are used for injecting the grout into the duct. Outlets allow the escape of air, water, grout, and bleed water. Inlets and outlets are typically placed in a number of locations and are shown on the approved post-tensioning layout drawings. These locations generally include the anchorage and the high and low points in the duct profile when the vertical distance between the highest and lowest point exceeds a specified distance. Additional secondary vents are placed near the high point vents in both directions from the high point outlets. In this demonstration, a single secondary vent has been added downstream from the high point vent. Grout is typically injected into a tendon at its lowest point in the profile. This allows the grout to flow uphill, effectively pushing air and water out of the vents at each anchorage or high point. As grout is injected into the low point of the tendon, the grout fills the low portion of the tendon and flows uphill in a plug or wall. The inclination of the front end of the wall will vary depending on the fluidity and thixotropic characteristics of the grout. As the grout reaches the top of the high point, the grout breaks over the peak and flows under gravity down the opposite side, partially filling the duct cross-section. This grout flows down and fills the second low point. Once this low point is filled, the grout begins to backfill the downhill portion towards the high point. This creates an entrapped air bubble that is discharged through the high point vents. Venting continues until a significant quantity of grout with no visible signs of air or water is discharged from the high points. Vented grout should be the same quality as was injected. Depending on the injection rate, tendon geometry, and grout fluidity, the grout may be discharged from one or both of the vents in the high point during the injection. The typical sequence is to close the downstream vent prior to closing the high point vent. Good communication between workers tending vents and the grout plant operator are critical to proper venting and to prevent excessive pressure from occurring. Upon completion of venting, grout tubes should be kept elevated above the high point. If the grout tubes are placed such that their opening is below the top of the high point, siphoning may occur, as illustrated here.